I get a lot of questions in comments or when I'm at car shows about this hood clearance I got going on here. This hood scoop does clear barely, with, I would say, a significant amount of minor modifications. For one, right off the bat, I've trimmed this lip and I've massaged these, especially along the back here, and then I've massaged along here. You can see the marks. You can kind of see where I ground it. Let's see what else I had to do. So to fit this scoop on here, the correct way to do it is to set it this way, but to do a bit of a drop, I flipped it this way. Now I understand that there's going to be a little gap here and I'm going to be sucking in air that's not going to be quite filtered, but I center it as best I can and I think it's pretty minimal. That's one of the compromises. As an engineer, not big on compromises, but I really wanted this to work, so I just tried everything possible. Now when you flip this plate and you bring the scoop lower, you get it in contact with the carburetor here on the float adjustments. So on the back side I just ground away material, and then here on the front I cut out this space to clear right here. I'm using solid mounts, which I believe are shorter than a factory rubber mount, because you got to make room for that rubber and everything, and I think that raises the engine up. So these solid mounts, I like to think, lower the engine a little bit more. Originally when I had a 700 R4, I had a full base plate from Bowtie Overdrives that worked fantastic, but I realized, well, I have a 4L80E now and I just have this little simple connection, so I don't really need this full base plate. So I removed the base plate, cut this bracket piece off the end of it, and modified it in a way to where I could mount it just on top of this single bolt right here, and that allowed me to eliminate a gasket and that base plate thickness, bringing the carb down even lower. Now this blower has like a square or a spread bore pattern, and of course this is just a standard square bore, so I really should have some kind of adapter plate going from the square bore to the spread bore, but I don't. So far I don't have a vacuum leak, everything seems fine, but that's how I was able to squeeze out as much height as possible. So I'm just down to just the carburetor, a gasket, and then the supercharger, nothing in between, and that allowed me to lower it down some more. So it's a combination of a lot of minor things: adjusting the hood here, making this cutout, flipping this bracketry, this mount for the scoop, modifying the scoop on the top and the bottom, and this is what it looks like with the air cleaner. It does seal, granted, but it should be sealing on this under surface because this should be flipped. Then I tighten this down. And then we take our scoop and I take the two bolt holes in the front here, one here and one on the other side, and then I just tighten it up using a little flathead to tighten it down. And with all that, I do get some minor rubbing a little bit. A lot of these are actually older marks since before I did this modification, but did notice I'm just barely touching here and here because these marks appeared after I painted this right here. I don't see anything back here anymore, so I think we're good. There might be just a tiny bit on this. If I really wanted to, I could grind these ribs all the way down and just remove this whole lip, and I probably would never have any more problems, but I'm just trying to keep some semblance of how that looked. That's to answer your question, how do I get that to fit under the hood?